Wonderful. I'm here with Ebony Banks, whom I'm so delighted to spend a little time with today. We were just chatting before I hit record about how prolific Ebony is with the content that she creates. She looks like, I mean, I was just looking at your Instagram, Ebony, and you're like a one-woman powerhouse, just producing so much incredible content. And I know that you have been working on a book, and the book is coming out in 2025. By the time the summit participants are watching this, will be in 2025. So
Nice.
tell us a little bit about the book and how that has come to be and what it's all about.
Yes, sure. So the book is a bit of a story because I initially wrote a memoir just about my healing journey, and I didn't even write a book intentionally. I was just writing, and I realized that, like, oh, I think this is a book. And so I kind of kept going. And when I was looking for an agent for the memoir, I reached out, or I was talking to a friend who I hadn't spoken to in a really long time. And, we're catching up on our lives. And I was like, oh, well, I wrote this book about my healing journey and I'm looking for an agent. And so she's like, oh, well, I used to work in New York and I know this woman and she kind of likes the kind of things you're talking about. You should reach out to her. So I ended up reaching out to that agent. And at the time, I didn't know that she wasn't a memoir agent. And I'm learning about publishing as I go. And so, certain agents represent certain genres of books. So she took me on as a client, for the memoir. And then she asked me to write a self-help book about intuition because I never even was thinking about it. So the book, there are actually two books, and the one that's coming out next year is a self-help book about intuition that this agent asked me to write.
Amazing. And that's just
And
the most beautiful serendipity, right? Like you put it out
yeah,
there and it just kind of finds its place in the world.
totally. And I feel like I channeled so much of that book too, because I just pull from my own experience and what I do and how I walk through life. And that's what's in the book. And so much of that, like I was connecting so many dots as I was writing it because so much of how I've managed my self is just it's natural. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what feels best and good and right to me at that time. And so I wasn't aware that like I was doing all these things until I actually wrote it down, you know?
And kind of mapped a pathway. And actually what I was seeing, because I was looking at your work, in preparation for talking to you, and it feel because the focus of our summit is it's all about activism and the work that we do in the world to be of service. And the pathway that I kind of saw in, listening to you speaking is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I've misunderstood this, but it's
Mm.
like we first come to self and we figure out our own intuitive knowing. And from that place, we are then able to be out in the world following whatever calling we have to be of service. Have I got that right?
That is very close. And I'm happy to hear you say that because I'm kind of newish to Instagram and that I've only joined it in the past few years and only for this purpose because I'm uber private, in life. And so, but this is just so important. I can't be private about it. And so, I didn't have an intention, for like what I was going to say. So the fact that you got that much out of it, it's pretty good because yeah, the way I process intuition, it really it's something that everyone has obviously and everyone can access based on how we self-manage, and how we self-regulate, right? And our awareness that we allow ourselves to have about like how large the world is and how much information, because for me intuition is information, that's how I understand it. And it's about how much information is constantly being communicated to us at any given time and largely through our physical bodies, and it's just a matter of like learning how to understand life that way and like shifting your perspective a bit and becoming more aware of yourself and how your body is communicating to you.
Mm. And so for women who, I work a lot, most of my work is with women, and women will often say to me, I don't know what my intuition is telling me. I don't know what my gut feeling is. I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. One
Mhm.
day I think, well, not even one day. One minute I think one thing, the next minute I think something else. So, so for that experience, which seems to be more and more common. I mean, I guess there's two parts to this question. First of all, why is that? Why are we struggling so much to find
Hmm.
out, to know what our intuition is? And then the
Hmm.
second part of that question would be, how can we get better at it? Like, how do we reconnect?
Yes. I mean, I think the answer to the first question, we struggle because so many of us don't recognize that we are innately intelligent, well beyond what we've been taught. And so much of that intelligence does not come from our brains. You know, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. The brain is just the human part of that experience. There's a lot of intelligence to learn from how you navigate your spiritual life. And the two are really intertwined, as spiritual beings having a human experience, right? So all those experiences are intertwined, which can get really abstract and a bit confusing for folks. But I have understood it in that, it's really about like how true and honest you are with yourself about everything, from what you do and don't like to how you're managing your relationships. Like all those things are connecting to your spirit and how you are showing up in the world. So if you're not, truthful and honest and like really centered and grounded in your spirit, it will be really difficult for you to access more of your intuition because you can't be dishonest with yourself in one area and expect to get your intuition in another. It doesn't work like that. You have to actually be really honest with yourself in all areas of your life. And that's really what the book is about too, and how like steps that people can take to get to that level of honesty because it can be challenging and painful, to confront things in our lives that are not serving us well and having to change and confront those things. But it's, for that reason too, intuition is also very accessible. And those are like the actual those are the mechanisms that we use to get to our intuition. So I think just like having that understanding is helpful for people because to me, it kind of sounds like common sense that you can't be honest over here and dishonest over here and expect, right? Expect your intuition to give you this, supreme information and tell you and know how to guide you when you're not honest with yourself. And
Mm,
because it is, intuition that comes from us, that's why we have to be honest with ourselves. Because if we're not, our intuition doesn't know how to guide us because we're not being honest, which that
yeah.
was a mouthful. And I think I
No,
only answered
no, I
the two
totally get it. And
questions.
I'm just thinking of examples in my own life. And it's what you say. It's just sometimes it's really hard to look at the truth of what's going on
Yes.
and go, this relationship, like I had a relationship breakup earlier this year. And it was a relationship I really wanted to work because I have a daughter
Yeah.
with this person. So I was
Oh,
very invested in wanting, like really wanting the relationship to be good. Um,
yeah.
but in my heart of hearts, in my gut, I knew that there were lots of holes, lots of issues, lots of problems, but I was trying to not give them attention, not give them time, not give them energy because I was invested in the idea of working. But I
Hmm.
think it's exactly what you said, because I do have a deep spiritual practice and I do meditate every day and I'm very in touch with source or God or whatever we want to call it.
Hmm.
Very quickly, I can't sit in meditation every day knowing in my gut that this relationship isn't right. Like it's sort of like the different parts, even the part you want to hide, it
Yes.
has to, it bubbles up, right? Like you just can't, um,
Yes.
which is hard. It's like I remember saying to a girlfriend at the time, I wish I could just be a bit more in denial. I wish I could, like,
Yeah.
just
And
like, yeah,
it is
because,
it is very hard. And the key too is, not to judge yourself, like for people to have empathy on that journey because you know, intuition is so genius and so loving that where it will lead you to once you take like, have the hard conversations, take the hard steps, whatever actions you take in your life, it will lead you to something so much greater than that thing that you think is like your everything or making you happy or whatever it is. So, it really takes a lot of empathy and self-love because I don't believe we're capable of making a mistake as human beings. I think whatever experience we're having, it's necessary for our journey in some level, otherwise the experience wouldn't be happening.
mm,
That's the reason it's happening. So I don't think we're capable of a mistake. And as long as people like can keep that level of awareness and be easy on themselves, even while they're still not ready to address the thing that, they need to address, it's okay. Like you'll do it when you're ready. You know what I mean? So yeah.
yeah, just being kind with ourselves. And for
Yeah.
me, I think a huge part was also remembering, like you said, there are no mistakes. And the bigger picture is that I can surrender this to a higher power. Like, I don't have to be in the driving seat of figuring everything out by myself. I can actually just let it go, let God support me,
Yes.
release it, and yeah, I'll be taken care of. The whole situation will be taken care of. And that's really what
Yeah.
happened. And now I feel like I'm in a very good space. So,
Oh, I love that. I love that. And the more we like exercise that little muscle of ours, the stronger that muscle gets and the easier it is to, to make those kinds of choices in life, like as life progresses. Because there's going to always be something hard that we have to deal with and manage. But it gets easier, it will get easier. So I love that. I love
yeah.
hearing that. And I also don't think we always have to be doing, I find my intuition shows up for me like when I'm just working, like doing random things. We don't always have to be, saying om or you know what I mean, like in some really like high vibe activity. It can actually your intuition can really show up for you at any time, at any place, no matter what you're doing, because it's always with you. It's
Mm.
never a part of you, away from you.
Yeah. I guess in some ways, when we think about intuition, it's really supportive in terms of decision making. And one of the things I notice a lot of women struggling with is because we're so overloaded all the time, like, I mean, you just walk into a supermarket to do some shopping and there's like so
Mhm.
many choices and there's so much stimulation. It's so overwhelming. It's like, I don't even know what I'm going to have for dinner. Like, it's too
Yes.
much. And the intuition piece can kind of help us just process, this huge, or even like, let's say we're on social media and we're scrolling through looking at stuff, like it's so much. If we're tuned into intuition, that's going to help us make decisions, right?
Absolutely. And it will only support you in making decisions that are best for you. Like it's not going to be like a random decision, like just it's actually a decision that is going to serve you best of all the choices you have. This is the choice that'll serve you best. That's how intuition leads. Yeah, and I agree. And that's why when I was speaking earlier about like shifting that perspective and how you view life and understanding like all this information that we're walking through all day long. It's and not just the information from like signs and things you can see physically. When I think about like how we're able to see as human beings and how light hits the back of our retina and then voila, we have sight. Like there's so much non-physical information that we are also tapping to in the same way that our lights are receiving non-physical, our eyes are receiving non-physical information of light that allows me to be looking at you right now and to see everything in my world, right? So it's really about like having that level of awareness and really knowing that like that world exists and it's as present for us as the physical, tangible world that we can touch, taste, hear, smell, and see.
Yeah, and I noticed in your work that you actually do speak quite a bit about utilizing our other senses, just not only our sense of sight.
Yeah.
And one of the teachings that we're really interested in as yoga teachers and yogis is it's called pratyahara, this idea of the full sensory spectrum. And you
Nice.
work a lot with fragrance and with smell, and that's something I'm really interested in too. Like, I use a lot of essential oils in my work, and this idea that our sense of smell can actually be really influential in things like how our nervous system is regulating and how we're experiencing the world.
Yes.
Can you speak about that a little bit more, because we're very biased towards our sense of sight and I guess hearing as well to a
Right.
certain extent.
Right. It's so true. And we minimize like all the other senses. And then of the five primary senses, so I guess I'll start by saying I'm of the belief, I'm clear tangent, and I'm of the belief that everyone is clear something. Even if they've never heard of it, they don't know they are. I just believe everyone is clear something because of the seven clear senses that we know of to date, five of them directly correlate with our five primary senses, right? Touch, taste, hear, smell, and see. So there's already a relationship there that exists between the clear senses being a really kind of advanced level of intuition and like, being able to smell a rose, right? It's just in a very different way. And so when it comes to the senses of the clear senses, the clairsentient, which is our ability to feel, is not even one of the five senses, but we have every human being has experienced like being able to feel something. You can feel when someone's too close to you and they're walking behind you and someone's staring at you. We've all had these experiences, right? And then what's the other one I was going to think of? Oh, and clear knowing, clear cognizant, when we just automatically know something without logic, no one told us, we didn't read it anywhere. So I kind of feel like those should be senses too, but unfortunately they're not part of our five primary senses, but they are clear senses. So yeah, I definitely recognize that senses are a route to greater intuition if you can learn how to cultivate those other senses, because as someone who's clairtangent and my readings with clients, I do only remote readings now. So I'm not even physically touching the person, right? Which blows me away and has been blowing me away since I started doing this 12 years ago. But I use a teddy bear, and I think the teddy bear is only there because like my brain has to understand what is happening. And so somehow the teddy bear helps to rationalize to my brain what is happening, because I haven't tried it yet without the teddy, but I get the same information when I touch the teddy as I do if somebody was physically in front of me, you know, and that information, so I definitely correlate all of the senses to the clairsenses. And I think it's really a powerful way for people to learn like what clairsense they are.
Mm, mm. It's so interesting. I work with an energy healer. Her name's Sarah McGann, and many of the women in the community know her. And I remember when we first started working together, like from, she was reading my energy and working with healing my energy. And we were
Mm.
doing it online, and I was so cynical. I was like, how can this work on
Right.
Zoom? Like, I'm just not convinced. And
Yes.
yet, over years we've worked together now, she nails
Hmm.
it every time. Like, I'm
Hmm.
blown away. And now I don't even think twice. Like, I just know that she's tapped in, and however it's working, who knows? Um,
Yes.
but it's interesting that we create these. I mean, for example, we create these online communities, right? So much of my work is online, and there are women that I've worked with for years now in some of my
Mm.
online spaces whom I've never met, but I
Mm.
feel like in real life, but I feel very
Right.
close to, and I would call us friends, and we
Mm.
spent time together, and we actually, in many ways, have more intimate relationships than women that I see every day, in the school
Mhm,
playground at pickup time or whatever, um,
mhm.
in real life. So it's like, who knows on what plane or what level of
I know.
energetic stratosphere these interactions are happening, but I've really realized it doesn't necessarily have to be an in-person direct for the energy exchange
No.
to happen.
No, not at all. So, yeah, I mean, 100%. I like I said, it just blows me away, and I'm the person doing it and have done it all these
Yeah.
years, and it's still, energy is limitless.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
my only explanation. I don't know anything more sophisticated than that. That's like
Yeah.
my basic
Yeah.
answer for it. Who knows how this is happening? I wish science believed in this stuff more,
Yeah.
so they could study this and like help all the people who are into it, because it's so interesting to me that so many scientists are atheists and they don't even believe in like a God, right? If that's what you want to call it. But I wish they did. I wish they
Yeah.
did because it's
Well, if
happening.
we go back to the mystics, I mean, I'm obviously thinking about the yogic teachings, but like, for example, if we look in some of the scriptures, like chapter 3 of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, there's so much mystical teachings in there, right next
Yeah.
to the very basic, practical, everyday life,
Yeah.
science-based advice. There's
Yeah.
also, you could travel in time, or you could make your body bigger or smaller, or work with your energy. And it's all seen as being just as normal. It's only in
Yeah.
our relatively recent history that we've become so
Mm.
narrow in our thinking and so limited and so evidence-based.
Mm, mhm.
It's really interesting. I wanted to ask you another question about this idea of the senses and the clair senses, which is like, what about animals? Because I think it's really
Oh,
true that sometimes dogs, or like even cats, like people's animal, like I'm thinking about elderly people, just to give an example, who have
yeah.
a really special relationship with their animals, and like that it's
Mhm,
almost like the animals are caring for the humans, or
mhm,
for someone who has visual problems or what have you, where a dog is like literally, like, do you think there's an energetic connection or an energetic, like, interaction that can happen there between humans and other species?
I think it happens with all living things.
Mm.
I mean, there have been research on plants and how plants know when, like, if you're going to harm it or if you're going to love it. Like, before you even approach it, the plant can sense like what energy you're bringing, right? So I think it's a living person, a living thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
interesting. And
yeah.
one last question I'd love to ask you, which I guess brings us full circle back to this activism piece a little bit more. It's kind of a feminist question in a way, but I'm
Mhm.
interested to know, like, what do you think in terms of, is there a difference between how men and women perceive intuition or how they are able to work with intuition? And is any of that cultural, like, or
Ooh,
or or is it part of our innate biology? Or do you have any thoughts about that?
I do have some thoughts about it, and those are such good questions. I'm of the belief every single human being is intuitive because I believe intuition connects to our spiritual nature, which all human beings are. I think because, and I hate using like gender terms, but the typical characteristics that are more associated with females, right? Those are typical characteristics that more likely get us to accessing our intuition. And those are very different characteristics from how men typically express themselves and what's associated with being masculine or male, right? So I think, women are so much more inherently and naturally intuitive because we're socialized to be, and also because we're mothers, right? And we birth human beings and all of the information that comes with that naturally is happening as our babies are growing in our bodies. Those things I think make us naturally more inherently intuitive than men, but men are no less intuitive. I think it's just a different well, not even so much different, but they have to get to it in a different way than we do because they don't carry humans and they don't have all this information that their body is receiving as humans are growing in their bodies. So it's very different. So, for them, I think it's really helpful for men to kind of familiarize themselves with like allowing themselves to be in surrender and be receptive and those kinds of things that aren't typically associated with being masculine, or even like men aren't socialized those ways. But I don't think there's any difference. I think the route might be different, but the accessibility is the same because it's a human being thing.
That makes total sense. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so fascinating talking to you. It's so interesting hearing your perspectives. I have one final question, which is a question we're asking everybody who
Yeah.
is presenting in the summit, which is, what are you personally currently reading, learning, studying? Like, what are your, and it might be on a completely different topic to what we've spoken about today, but
Oh gosh. So right now I'm in two memoir writing classes because the memoir, I finished it just before COVID. So like January of 2020, I finished it, but I'm like constantly cleaning it up and, learning how to tell my story better. So I'm in two memoir classes right now and I'm learning all these different writing styles, which I love so much, and how to like be a personal narrator and all these things about memoir writing. So that's just gonna be my life until that book is done. The other book is gonna be on shelves, it's done, but that book, I still have a lot of work to do.
yeah. Beautiful. Well, I can't wait for both of them, and
Thank
we'll make
you.
sure that we share all of the links to your, your socials and your resources, so that people who are listening who want to go out and order a copy when it becomes available can do so.
Yay, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to
Thank
meet you
you.
and to be
Thank
part
you
of your
so much
community.
for your time today. It's been so awesome. Thank you.
Sure.